Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. We are here for a bit more of the good old Cowboys and Cthulhu. We didn't get enough of eldritch horror and trauma last time, so we decided to come back. We've got some familiar faces and some new faces, and some familiar faces playing new characters because their old character was too smart to come back. Was like, once is enough, dude. So yeah, let's do the thing that we do and go around and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your character. And if you were here for the initial run, a little bit about what your character remembers, the kind of highlights of what happened the last time you all were together. So let's start with Misha.
Hi, I'm Misha _ less than 3 here on Twitch, or at Mishawea on Tumblr. Let's see, I'm playing Minnie. She's an engineer. She's made recently a neat spirit camera that can take cool ghost pictures, but she's still trying to figure it out. So is generally traveling around the Wild West, probably looking for haunted houses and things to see how this spirit camera thing actually works. Pretty good at repairing mechanical things, operating heavy machinery that I'm sure we'll find at some point. Yeah, all that good stuff. Jeff.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeff. I'm going to be playing Arson, who in previous times in his life was a fixer, basically, for the Pinkertons. He would go into situations where there was unrest or labor troubles, and he would try and ingratiate himself with the workers and get all the mess just cleared up so that everything went nice and smoothly for the business. At least that's what he used to do until probably the worst fishing trip ever happened not too long ago. And these days, he's been just kind of roaming from town to town. People have seen him in the company of a traveling doctor, and usually he just gets by doing odd jobs and taking what money he can to pay for therapy appointments from a traveling doctor / salesman. And they've pretty down on his luck these days, not doing too great, but he's hanging in there.
Villain.
So I am your only villain. I'm here around in C+ content and Juice and some other ones. I am playing Felix, who is a gunslinger, kind of like a mercenary for hire. It's kind of the best way for me to explain it. Just kind of there, kind of hired gun, kind of just goes where the money is for the most part. No real distinct features, kind of blends in. Pretty much about it.
But a steely eye and a fancy gun. There you go. Katie.
I am Katie. I am here or in Juice's chat or around other places. I'm playing Anna, who is a doctor trying to make her way through the field. From last session, she's crazy enough to stick around, but kind of definitely affected by the events, and especially like some of the things they saw and some of the makeup of the monsters, especially the ones being hands. So that's creepy. But tried to work on medical practice and pretend things are okay. It didn't work very well. Met up with Arson and was with him following the therapist around, casually stalking, but there's payment involved, so it's probably fine.
Yeah, because the Wild West,
yeah.
Roving therapists are a thing.
It's like his hobby. Yeah. He's got a day job, but we're like, hey, we're really messed up. Please help.
And his day job is hypnotizing wealthy people into giving them his money.
Yeah, and Anna
allegedly.
knows enough. Yeah. Anna knows enough about psychology. She's like, you just have to do this for me.
Right. And Erthos.
Hi, everybody. I'm Erthos. You can see me here in C+ and some of our neighboring channels, returning with Jack, a stereotypical gambler type from our Wild West, as Chev pointed out, had a very unproductive fishing trip last time. Since then, he's been doing his best to forget about said trip, which has led to him mostly just kind of turning into a bit of a vagrant, going town to town, not actually doing a lot of gambling recently, because he has trouble sleeping, as you do. So he's been working through all of that.
Awesome. Hey, out of curiosity, does anyone have a shard of a radium idol on their person anywhere?
Didn't SJ take that?
Well,
yeah.
That was Jane.
I believe so,
So
yes.
Jane has one.
Yeah.
But didn't Anna have a vision when she went insane about all these little sparks of light?
I remember what you're talking about, but that wasn't me.
It
It was-
wasn't? I thought it was you.
No.
Okay, fine.
I mean, if I'm wrong,
I think it
I don't
was
know.
Jane.
So Jane, well, maybe that explains why Jane isn't here. Because she picked, so the last time, there were a variety of things. Mostly it was just playing poker. And falling into holes. But yeah, there was a little bit of a problem in a cute little town. There was a renegade that needed to be captured, and the party put together a little fishing expedition. They didn't get particularly far, and then things went horribly, horribly wrong in very amusing ways. They encountered some really, really gross stuff. And then had to kind of fight their way through the town as people were being taken over by this kind of creature. But they were able to survive just barely. I think we ended with several people with like 1 health point left. It was rough and tough, and really gross stuff happened. But yeah, there was a radium idol involved, and it was potentially part of the problem. But I'll take your word for it that no one picked up a little souvenir. So that'll simplify things for us. Now, we have said that time has passed enough that those who were on death's door are no longer and have recovered to the extent that their bodies will allow, with scars, right? Both mental and physical. But from a health point perspective, you should be at full. Some of you are also dealing with a little bit of sanity loss, and there was some luck that was spent. So you tell me which of those attributes you would most like to recover. I'm going to be mean about this. First of all, because you guys all have a lot of luck, and sanity. So you tell me which one you have focused on during your downtime recovering.
Jack is focused on his luck almost exclusively.
Okay. I think Anna and Arson, it's probably sanity, right? Since you've been traveling around with the doctor.
Yeah.
Cool. So just to be extra complicated, Jack, would you give me a gambling check at +20?
That puts my gambling at 100, so I can't fail.
Oh, okay. Well, +10 then. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a chance to potentially fail, because there's always got to be some random.
Some chance. 58, so just a regular success.
Just a regular success. Okay, great. And how far down are you on luck?
I am the lowest in the group right now with 37.
Okay. Take 2d10.
Okay.
And then for Anna and Arson, I think your time with the good Dr. Handler, I almost called him Dr. Hansy. That we'll get to that part later. The good Dr. Handler has certainly been therapeutic, although there may be negative consequences in the future. So I would like you to go ahead and take 2d10 sanity, since you have previously decided that you spent a lot of time trying to get your sanity back. And then for the other attribute, just take a d6 back. So you'll each get a little bit of something, but mostly wanted to reflect that you have focused during your downtime.
How much back did you say?
A d6 on luck for you, and 2d10 on sanity. That's not actually how luck insanity recovery rolls work, but I like it better. House roll. Hi, James. Good to see you this weekend. Anyway, cool. So feeling a little bit better about yourselves. And the interesting thing is that Jack, I'm gonna say you're down on your luck. You're down on your luck in terms of winnings, right? Because
that would check out.
Yeah, you've been gambling as therapy, less as a scam, right? You've retreated into that activity to try to, like, have that sense of comfort of this is a thing that I understand. This is an environment. There's no giant creatures made exclusively of undead arms. There's no preachers chanting psalms to the ancient ones. None of that stuff, right? So maybe less focus on winning and more focus on losing oneself. But I'm going to say you're probably open to a little bit of additional work for coin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, going town to town and not staying anywhere for very long means I'm not getting a deal on any hotel rooms or food or anything either. So
Yeah.
definitely looking for extra coin if there's something to be had.
Well, I'm going to say that you were involved in a poker game about a week ago in some dusty railroad town. They all kind of tend to blend together, especially when you can't stick around too long, because before you have to move along before the marks figure out what you're up to.
Exactly.
And you had thought it was going to be a wonderful night because there was a very well-dressed gentleman who had a gold pocket watch and clearly just traveling through town himself. And you found yourself striking up conversation with him over the course of the game. And while you didn't share the specific details of your previous adventures, enough kind of came out. He has a way about him, which is very builds confidence. And enough came out over the evening of drinking and gambling that it was apparent that he also has some knowledge of the strange things that happen that maybe don't make the papers, or the truth behind some of the things that make the papers. And there was an open invitation, should you find yourself Denver way, to visit him because he had the potential of some work for you. Similarly, Anna and Arson, you have been effectively camp followers of Dr. Handler for a bit, or at least touching base every so often as your paths cross. Dr. Handler, at one of his events where he's set up the temporary stage and he's giving his pronouncements about the latest elixir, which can cure absolutely everything, and taking in the dirt farmers and the cowboys for their last nickel. Kind of gives you a knowing wink as he stuffs coin into his inner pocket, and then finds you after the event and tells you that he's moving on to Denver, and it would be in your best interest to follow him because he also understands, based on your in-depth conversations, which you maybe don't always remember the exact details of, you just know you feel better afterward. He understands a little bit about what you went through, and he thinks it would be therapeutic. He thinks you are ready to more actively face the source of your fears as the next step in your recovery from the trauma that you've experienced, and also make some coin. And he's only asking for a small token appreciation for putting you together with a potential employer who has need of your particular skills. Minnie, through your travels, you have made your way to Denver and have actually recently put on a exhibition of both some of the photographs you've taken as well as the actual equipment that you use for the local spiritualist society, to great applause and interest, but not much coin. So it was one of those things where you were paid in exposure. Mm. And the coin purse is running a little bit light, and you have some wonderful ideas of ways of new devices you could potentially build, ways that you could enhance the existing device that you have, etc. When one of the patrons of the spiritual society sends you a note at your little dusty hotel on the outside of town and invites you to attend him for a lovely supper and conversation about how your wonderful skills and inventions can be put to use to help him. Felix has recently been employed by a wealthy gentleman who is very circumspect about what he does, about where his money comes from. He presents himself as a man of leisure, which is quite unusual in the Wild West. But in observing him, number one, he needs apparently armed guards. And as you observe the flow of other individuals in and out of his large and well-appointed mansion, you get a sense that there's something not entirely above board, which probably doesn't bother you because the pay is good. But I would say that sometimes when you are alone in the house or patrolling the grounds, you get a little bit of a chill up your spine as if you're being watched. There's something not quite right, but it's not strange enough to give you pause in taking his money. This is Mr. Forrest.
Okay.
So I'm going to say Minnie arrives and is shown in. Probably is checked over briefly by Felix, because Minnie is carrying a large case. So Felix probably just double checks to make sure there's not any kind of weapon or explosive in it, just as part of your duty. But Minnie is probably the first to arrive.
I would probably go, we'll go ahead and take this one over here.
Yep.
Ooh, be careful, be careful. It's very fragile. It's a proprietary technology.
It doesn't look like it should be in this mansion with Mr. Forrest. We're just going to keep it over
it's
here for now.
perfectly fine. It's part of the meeting, you see. It's my camera. You've seen cameras before, right? Right? A camera?
Nothing that small.
Well, I mean, I had to get a lot of tech to get it down to an easily carryable size. It's only a few feet across, you know?
Yeah.
You'll want to see it. It's part of the meeting, right? Here, look inside. I'll open it up and be like, and so
hold on. Relax. So you be careful now.
Well, as you can see, we have the plates here and the device is there. And then here's the powder stuff that has a definitely technical name.
Felix is going to grab some of the powder and just kind of sniff it and maybe give it like a little bit of a taste to see if it's gunpowder or something else.
It is not. It is some sort of largely like finely ground metallic substance. But as you examine it in the light, there is a faint sparkle. There is some other substance mixed into this fine powder that gives off a faint bluish spark. And if you cup your hands and look at it, it has a very, very slightly, almost imperceptible glow. So it is likely two substances.
Okay.
But isn't gunpowder. I mean, there's probably bottles of acid because that's the other part of the ingredient, but it's weak acid. So you aren't detecting anything dangerous with the exception of potentially whacking someone with this very heavy contraption, and Minnie doesn't look to be the type.
All right, I'm just going to kind of somewhat shove everything back into her bag, not really being careful like she told me to, and kind of, all right, go ahead and go.
Great. Thank you, sir.
And you've been instructed to tell people to retire to the drawing room, and then once the guests have been assembled, you'll be called to dinner. As Anna and Arson approach from one direction, and I have to say, this is a very nice neighborhood. The streets are cobbled, relatively dust-free. There are mature trees keeping the kind of late summer air relatively cool. I mean, there's the typical din and stench of any city, but it is a bit of a relief from the small dusty towns that you have been frequenting most recently. And I would say you probably, Arson maybe feels a bit out of place. Anna maybe feels a little nostalgic. This is obviously a different climate than you grew up in, but the degree of civilization probably reminds you of your home back on the East Coast. Looks like a great place where a doctor could build a thriving practice. When approaching from the other direction, you see a familiar face. What happens?
So Arson is walking along. He's got his he had washed his best shirt for the evening. It's got pit stains. It's got wrinkles all over, but it's a little bit whiter than it would have been otherwise. He had spied someone walking towards them from a ways away, but just kind of clocked it as, that's just a person. I'm not paying attention to who it was. Starts looking like, hey, wait, is that? And he kind of nudges Anna as they're walking next to each other, and kind of pulls her to the side, like, hey, wait, nobody said there was gonna be people we knew here. Look at that. Look up there. Do you see what I see?
Anna was very distracted looking at the scenery. We'll look over, immediately recognize Jack. Maybe not immediate, because we were split up for half of that, but the familiarity is there enough.
Yeah, Jack definitely recognizes Arson and makes eye contact as soon as they're all in the light, and just kind of looks at me. He's like, "Why are you here, and why do I not like this anymore?"
I mean, yeah, like we're here. Like I'm here to for protection and to take care of any problems that might arise. I mean, I don't know why we would need a gambler here tonight. I mean, we've got professionals here. And he looks over at Anna.
I agree. If the purpose is protection, I don't know why I'm here, because I would say I want protection more than I can provide it.
Are we protecting you, or was your job description for this?
Right now, my job description was coming here looking for a job description. I was under the impression that there was some kind of work to be had for, a couple coins.
Mm. Arson reaches out and he's like grabbing onto the fence. I'm imagining like one of those big spiky like 8 or 10 foot high deals with like the very like filigreed kind of toppers, and he's just kind of like leaning against it and gripping it tight, and he's like looking a little bit out of breath for a second.
Well, we won't get any answers standing in the street, so we can head our way in, maybe find if there's a drink, get some water, sit down. I mean, there are other things we can have in common. Aside from all that other stuff. So why don't we just go sit down?
Yeah. I mean, maybe we had a good time last time, right? I mean, we played the cards. We went fishing. We never did go on the fishing trip. We could do that again.
Yeah. We'll just avoid bears this time.
Yeah, no bears.
No bears. No holes, no churches. Just We'll go inside, have a nice glass of water in this fine, civilized and populated establishment.
I really wish I could still share your optimism, Arson, but I think I'm just going to have a drink and listen to what kind of job is being offered.
Well, after you then.
Jack opens the gate and walks in.
And then we'll kind of pat Arson on the back. Like, it's okay. It's okay.
He takes a couple deep breaths and then follows.
As you approach the home, who would like to give me a spot hidden?
I would love to.
Sure.
19.
Ooh, is that half or below of your score?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Anyone else?
I've got a 38, so just a regular success.
Okay. Cool.
I'm going to also
Might as well.
peek around. Oh, that's a fail. That's actually a 98.
Arson's
Ooh.
too busy freaking out.
Arson trips and falls into a bush.
No. Oh my god.
It's not quite watching where he's going.
But it's fine. And I will say, so Anna and Jack, your eyes are attracted by just the faintest movement in one of the windows on the third floor. This is a very steeply gabled home with the typical kind of lace curtains. And so Jack, you just get an impression of someone tall and pale in just the barest moment, but then the sound of from Arson behind you, and you being kind of on alert. You try to look, and that's really what you see. Anna sees that, and also sees that the individual seems pale because they are bandaged almost entirely.
Oh.
Like at first you think, who is that? That's very strange. How can they be so pale? Because all you see is kind of like a black area for eyes and then just a smooth-ish white. But then as the figure twitches, the curtains close and steps back into darkness, there's just enough time for you to see that there's the fine lines of wrappings on their face.
Jack goes to help Arson up out of the bush. Are you okay there, bud?
Yeah.
We're
I just
walking into a house right now.
hey, I thought I saw something suspicious in the bush. I had to investigate.
We call those squirrels.
Yeah.
They're normal.
It was a chipmunk, but close enough. It now chitters at you angrily. Would you make your way forward? Ring the bell. And a steely-eyed individual with a gun on his hip greets you at the door. And Felix, this is what you see these faces before you. What happens?
I'm gonna tell them obviously to wait. We gotta give you a pat down before you walk into the building. Kind of the whole security spiel, one at a time. Wait your turn. I'll start with Arson first. Gonna give him a pat down. Do you have any guns or anything on you?
Yeah, he when you move towards him, he kind of like shies away for a second, and then pauses, and then yeah, I've got, and he pulls open. He's got kind of like a vest on, and he pulls open the part of the side to show that he has like an underarm holster for his 45.
We'll need you to hand that gun over. Check it in before meeting Mr. Forrester.
No, that wasn't part of the deal. I wasn't told I'd have to be giving up my weapon. I'm not going to do that.
Let me make sure that it's okay, but I don't think it will be.
I'll give you mine if he can keep his. I have one.
Just kind of part of security protocol is just to kind of make sure that Mr. Forrester is perfectly fine and not under any type of harm.
Well,
Jack
no.
pulls his pistol out and hands it to him.
Yeah, I know.
And
Hand hers
towards
over.
Felix.
Arson just kind of stands there looking at the others for a minute and just kind of looking back and forth between Jack and Felix. Okay. And he pulls out the 45 and hands it butt first over.
I would assume that we would understand that people would be coming with firearms.
It's not that atypical for folks to be armed. I mean, in this neighborhood, maybe, and certainly when entering a gentleman's home or a gentlewoman's home, it's kind of expected that you wouldn't be armed. But it's not a complete breach of protocol that if you're hiring people for a purpose and that purpose involves firearms, that they would
Correct.
come up armed. But it's also not that rare for people to say, maybe don't bring it into the drawing room.
Yeah.
Just in case, because people get shot.
Bring it to the job interview.
I mean,
so
maybe.
I would say that we would probably have somewhere set up
Yeah,
for
100%.
rifles and guns. So I
Right
would
near the
probably
door.
just put it in just kind of like put it in like a holster, like in a kind of like a shoe rack type of thing,
Yeah.
but for guns. So you can see where I put it, but
Yeah, there's probably like a drawer, a little armoire thing near the door, and people see that it's there, and you're not messing with it. They probably also clock the fact that your gun is not only a rare model as a Smith & Wesson Schofield 45 caliber, but also has been modified and is quite exceptional and expensive, therefore. Cool.
So I would check over Arson. Obviously, after he hands over the gun, just kind of give him another pat down, make sure he doesn't have anything else hiding, anything like that. More or less looking for firearms more than not so much knives, because you obviously have to get close and personal with those a little bit more. I would assume Arson is kind of done, so I would kind of shove him along and then check over Anna, and then her down, make sure she doesn't have any more firearms than what she had. And then do the same thing with Jack.
All right. And you don't find, I mean, Anna has some scalpels in her physician's kit, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not super worried about knives. I'm more worried about the firearms.
Yes. And you were instructed that there were 4 guests in total. So you now know that the party is complete. So you can show Jack, Anna, and Arson into the drawing room with Minnie.
Okay.
So Minnie, you see these individuals approach. What happens?
Oh, hello, everybody. Hi. My
Hi.
name's
Hi.
Minnie. Oh, here, let me get you my card. And she hands each of them a little business card that says, Minnie Jameson, engineer and inventor, lists off all the sorts of things she does, including, photography, etc., etc., etc. As many things as you can pack onto one card as possible.
Inventor is a bold statement. Minnie, what have you invented?
Well, I'm hopefully going to be showing this off today for Mr. Forrester, but I have here my proprietary camera invention that I have recently put together. You can see by its tiny size and rather quick picture taking. It takes excellent pictures, obviously, and spiritual pictures, which is the more interesting part. I'm looking into more of what I have. I have a few examples over here, and she starts rummaging through like a large file, part of a briefcase with like a few example photos from her recent exhibition that she hands over to show because, very excited.
I would say as soon as you start kind of trying to hand it over, like, hold on, we'll wait until the drawing room before we do all the presentations. Just put it back away.
Fair enough. We don't want to spoil the surprise. Ha ha ha. What was your name again, sir?
My name is Felix.
Nice to meet you. Oh, and each of you, sorry, I just sort of jumped over.
Jack, nice to meet you, Minnie. How's the photography business?
It's great. Doing really well.
Arson walks over. So you're a shutterbug, huh? I've seen the detective boys with some of these guys. Is the camera is it on a table or is it still in your hands?
I assume it's on a table because cameras are generally pretty big and it probably still needs a tripod and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All that kind of situation. So it's probably in a case.
Yeah.
Okay. Arson walks over and he's picking up and hefting the case, doesn't ask permission, just kind of is gauging the weight. I gotta say, this is some pretty impressive equipment you've got here. So who'd you say built this?
I built it.
Oh, you built it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And she's nervously eyeing how you are also manhandling the camera.
Yeah, he gives it one final kind of jiggle and puts it back down. Hopefully, nothing exciting will happen, and this will just be in and out deal, and you can get your pictures.
Yeah. Well, we hope for a little excitement. The ghosts haven't really done that much so far other than show up in the pictures.
Oh, you've gotten ghosts on pictures.
I was about to show you some, but we can wait.
A bell rings.
Yeah, we could also just. I'm sure that our we have a couple minutes to go. I would be interested in seeing those.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
As you say that, there's a tinkling of a bell.
Come on, everybody. We need to hurry up. It's about to start.
Perfect.
And
Gather my things.
Yes, you are showed into a well-appointed dining room. A few servants are laying out a course. It's a little odd because typically you would be seated and there would be conversation and then the service would begin. But they are, as you approach, filling the plates. And I think the other thing you probably noticed without a roll is that the food is pretty basic. Anna and certainly would have different expectations, given the quality of the china, the polish on the silverware, and just the general environment. I think you probably were expecting and maybe even hoping for something a bit more civilized. But this is, beans and some vegetables and some big chunks of meat. It's not quite trail food, but it's relatively basic. And you are encouraged to take your seats. I'm going to say probably Felix is standing.
Yes.
Just to watch.
Probably by the exit.
Yeah, by the exit, just in case anyone decides to make a run for it. And your employer enters the room. Mr. Forrest is probably in his mid to late 50s, but is a picture of health. He is trim, receding hairline, silver hair, held back with a pomade, has some demi-lune spectacles, which he takes off as he enters the room as if he had been reading or something, and assesses you all with an aloof air for a moment, kind of making eye contact, looking, has a strong kind of force of personality, very commanding. And then just kind of drops the glasses on a side table, claps his hands together and rubs them, and says, "Who's up for some grub?"
Certainly.
Well, dig in. Felix, have a seat.
I'm going to go ahead and take a seat at the very end.
Right. So he inquires as to your travel. He makes a bit of small talk. Should anyone broach the subject of the reason for your visit or the nature of the potential employment, he will very, very kind of nonchalantly wave you off as, that's for after dinner. And he tucks in with gusto to the rather plain fare and smacks his lips and really seems to be enjoying it and commenting on the quality and the expert preparation by the chef. I think the rest of you realize it's good, but it's nothing special. It's become apparent that he's perhaps a bit eccentric.
Does he look like he's actually enjoying it, or is he putting on airs?
Well, that sounds to me like a role. So I think that's probably a psychology.
Yeah. What am I at? That's a 40. Okay, nice. That is a 19, so that is just less than half.
Ooh, excellent. So 19 under 40. He is enjoying something. That part is genuine. But the sense you get is that he probably doesn't care much about food in general. Like, he just doesn't strike you as you observe him. He doesn't strike you as the type of person who would be an Epicurean. Certainly not a glutton.
Does anything else stand out as unusual in the room while we're eating and he's more or less like putting on this show about how great the food is?
Sounds like a spot hidden to me. So the other thing that you notice is that he is leveraging his kind of small talk and his engagement. He's also very, very watchful. Like, he's got this kind of like open, hey, let's dig in, have some grub kind of mentality or approach, but he is 100% sizing you all up in a very calculated way at the same time.
On the spot hidden, that is a critical success. That is a 3 out of 60.
Ooh, all right. You notice a few things about him. One, he's in his shirt sleeves, which you would have noticed before, which is maybe a little bit odd. I probably should have mentioned it first. But you can tell from the indentation in his vest that he had very recently been wearing something that had straps here. And you think for a moment, oh, maybe like a holster. But he doesn't carry himself that way. And these would have been thin straps. There's a crease in the material. You also see as his hands when he, picks up a piece of bread or gestures, there are some stains, kind of brownish black stains. They don't look like his hands don't look dirty. It looks like ink or some sort of chemical that has actually soaked into the skin, as opposed to just something that's sitting on the surface. And as your eyes are attracted to his hands and you see him maybe cutting up his steak, you might not have picked up on it before, but after spending some time with Anna, there is a precision about the way he uses his hands, a steadiness that is similar to Anna. He has a doctor's hands, or more precisely, a surgeon's hands. I will say he also clocks you evaluating him. Gives you a bit of a knowing smile and a wink.
Do I recognize him as the same gentleman I was playing cards with previously?
Oh, 100%, yes. But you were, it was a smoky room at night and you were already a couple of whiskeys in your previous conversation.
Yeah.
These are new details that you are picking up in the sober light of day. So this is somewhat this social ease and familiar and like immediate familiarity is very familiar to you.
Got it.
I mean, as familiar as someone that you met once 3 weeks ago and spent a little time playing cards with. He'll sit back. Well, that was great, wasn't it?
Delightful.
Well, shall we retire?
Fine as ever.
Little brandy maybe for the ladies. Some cigars for the men. Ordinarily, we'd be required to retire to separate rooms, but I think we can all stay together just this once.
Yeah, why not?
Would be preferable than splitting up.
Yes, well. So he will show you into a separate room. This room is perhaps a bit of a different vibe than the rest. It is somewhat atypical. First, there are very heavy velvet curtains covering all the windows. In fact, although it is still light outside, it's mid to late evening. Although it is still light outside, as soon as he walks in the room, he turns on the gas to illuminate the room. The furniture in here has more of an old world feel to it. And it is a room that looks like it was designed not for the typical kind of sitting in chairs and reading, but to accommodate a large group. There are a number of couches and settees that are arranged around the perimeter of the room. And in the center of the room is a very large, very ornate carpet. Currently, there is a table and a set of 4 chairs, but it is a very light table, so easily moved. There's a smell, not unpleasant, but a somewhat spicy, musky smell.
Like your grandparents' house.
Well, I was thinking more like a woman's boudoir, so more perfumey than that. And you were invited to sit. And he will thank you all for joining him. He's pleased that his invitation has been accepted, and that he believes that he has a job for you. And that he believes that you are all uniquely qualified for this particular type of work. You see, he has many friends of diverse interests, and someone has been interfering with some of his friends' interests. Someone has been targeting his friends, someone who is dangerous, someone whose motives are, at this point, difficult to understand, but someone who is a direct threat to the business of his friends. Someone who would not stoop or stop at murder to accomplish whatever their aims are. And then he will say, and someone who, shall we say, may have access to certain oddities that makes dealing with them in a traditional fashion problematic. Oddities that many of you have, as I understand it, from my friend Jack and from my friend Dr. Handler, may have had some direct experience with in the past. The world is a stranger place than we imagine it to be, and I believe this individual or potentially group is very well aware of that fact and is using that to their advantage. So being a helpful individual, being someone who loves his friends, being someone who collects friends, I agreed to help out. And as someone with significant disposable income, I took it upon myself to hire a team of experts to investigate. Nothing more complicated than that.
So what exactly are we investigating?
Well, there have been some disappearances. Individuals in my friend's employ that have gone missing. 3 of them have been found. Dead. Murdered. In an unusual way. Specifically, parts of them are missing.
Which parts?
Different parts. Internal organs. One had an eye missing. One had a large sheet of skin removed. One foot amputated just above the ankle. Just parts.
And they all had their hearts.
Yes, in fact. Good question. Well, all the ones we found so far.
It sounds like you know something about who might have done this.
I do not. Or else I would have taken care of it myself. Or I would have paid my friend Felix here to go take care of it for me.
Gives a little
I see.
grunt.
Okay.
Pardon?
Gives a little grunt, even like confirmative.
It's entirely possible it's just, an insane individual or a savage wandered in off the prairie or who knows what. But I have a sneaking suspicion that there might be something more eldritch involved.
Was there a pattern to where the bodies were found or where they were last seen?
None that I could detect, but then again, I'm not a trained investigator. I will say they were not hidden well, nor were they left in such a way that they would be easily discovered. So not in the middle of a street, but also not bundled into a well.
And was there ever anything found with them? Like pieces that did not belong to them?
Not pieces, no. I haven't directly examined any of the scenes. Unfortunately, my friends called me in a bit too late. And not that I would. I mean, I don't have the constitution to go and examine such horrific things. I'm afraid I might lose my mind if I were confronted with something so terrible.
Imagine that.
But
Minnie's been drinking the brandy a bit quicker with all the descriptions that he was giving.
Anna's just tapping the table anxiously. It's like,
But for individuals who have proven they're able to handle unpleasant matters and survive intact, and for individuals of a scientific bent and inquiring and creative mind, it should pose no challenge.
You mentioned 3 bodies were
Yes.
found. How many are still missing?
Well, it's hard to say.
I mean, it's hard to say. The police don't keep track of missing persons?
No.
I mean, that's not too unusual. Sometimes, somebody wanders off and they disappear and their family cares, but nobody else takes much mind out here.
Yes, and servants come and go. Individuals come to visit and leave, and you don't know if they actually left or if they were accosted in an alleyway late at night and subjected to some sort of strange, potentially ritual mutilation and then left in a ditch. Anything is possible.
They could have also just skipped town to go see other friends.
Exactly, which is what one would think until one finds their mutilated bodies.
But you've only found 3.
That's true. I suspect, however, whether there are more victims yet, there will be more victims in future. Such a madman, or group of madmen, would hardly stop at 3. And if I may be so bold as to put forth a hypothesis, they do seem to be collecting bits. Why would one stop at an incomplete collection?
It's always the different pieces that are missing.
Yes. Thus far.
Do you have any idea of who might be targeted next?
Well, in theory, any member of our society. Or anyone at all. I mean, who knows what might be going on in the broader city? I am only aware of what happens in my social circle.
Who exactly are your society again?
We're a group of inquisitive minds and freethinkers who believe that the world is more wonderful and strange than it appears on surface. We have, through various means, been attracted to spiritualism, theosophy, Eastern religion and philosophy, self-improvement, meditation, astral projection. I hear rumors of a bit of witchcraft, but we don't talk about that. And I must insist, if you agree to accept my employment, that you do everything you can not to inconvenience the other members. It is my hope that you will be able to follow the evidence.
How do we know who the other members are?
I will tell you what you need to know. And conversely, will not tell you what you don't need to know. So I expect that we will be in frequent communication. You will share everything that you find with me. And based on the progress of your investigation, I may reveal more information as it becomes warranted. But I'm not very well going to give you a list of all the people who are a member of our society so that you can go around and question them. Suffice it to say that we have come together. We have shared everything with each other that must be shared. And we have come to an agreement that further investigation is needed, and that as loath as we are to bring outsiders into our fold, a certain degree of expertise in this sort of matter is required. And you all come highly recommended.
Jack looks over at Arson and, without saying anything, just looks like this is a bad idea.
He picks up on that. I assume that my conditions are maybe a bit off-putting. Why on earth would you investigate such unseemly things with relatively limited information, all on the word of someone that you've just met or have only briefly known? And I have to admit, if I were in your place, I would likely feel the same way, except for one thing: money. Lots of it.
I'm sure we're all looking forward to working with you, Mr. Forrester.
Yes. So, the terms. Upon successful completion of your investigation and either elimination of the threat or threats, or the gathering of evidence sufficient to involve the local authorities to see that whoever they are captured and hanged by the neck until dead or otherwise disposed of, you will receive $100. Upon agreement to take on this little task for me, you will receive a signing bonus, as it were, of $20. And if, as your investigation progresses, additional material aid is required to see to you to a successful conclusion, we can have a conversation about that. Have I sweetened the pot sufficiently?
Can you
That is
give me a nice funeral if I don't make it back?
I can certainly see to any necessary arrangements.
Amen.
Yeah,
And then we'll make eye contact with Arson. And then Jack just look at Minnie, who is too excited.
Yeah. Arson looks
Minnie
kind of like
ready.
he's a little bit pale, like sick. Is look a little sick to his stomach, almost like he's 5 minutes away from having to excuse himself. But he's looking at Jack and Anna, thinking about like that's a transformative amount of money for him right now.
Yeah. That is each, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, same. It's definitely more than Jack can afford to turn down. He's kind of resigned to like, okay, this is the job, but he's not confident it's gonna end as well as it did last time, because last time wasn't great.
It wasn't great, but we were considerably lucky.
Yeah. And you collectively made like what, $5 last time? It
Yeah.
wasn't much. Well, it was like $50, but it was not much
Yeah.
each.
Jane made off with like a national treasure.
Yeah, but where is Jane now?
Yeah. And how many tentacles does she have? Anyway, it's fine. I can see that I may not be a talented investigator, but I am very good at people. So, please don't take my reticence to share details with you as a desire to stymie you in your investigation. I'm just simply trying to protect confidences. Some of my friends have, shall we say, positions in society. And if they were seen to be involved in unpleasantness, those positions might be threatened. I'm simply being a good and protective friend, which I hope you will take as encouragement that if we work well together and you are successful and diligent in your efforts on my behalf, we might become friends and I might be a good and protective friend of you in future. Wonderful. So, not to tell you your business, you are, after all, those with the appropriate experience. However, my recommendation would be either to start with the latest body or with the scene at which the body was discovered. Minnie,
Both, but I want to look at the body.
yes. In either case, Minnie, your unique talents and technology might reveal clues that the rest of the party is unable to uncover. And Felix, I'm going to send you with them, just in case our adversaries decide to become violent or to target you all. And also, once you are able to track down the individual or individuals responsible, to, if necessary, see to it that they receive a more immediate and permanent justice than perhaps our system might allow.
Villain is BRB.
Understood.
I think Felix probably just nods.
He gives a grunt.
Yeah.
Of course I will. I will definitely keep these four in line on top of protecting them.
Now,
Take offense to that.
now, Felix, you're all going to be great friends, aren't you?
Two to be seen.
Yes. Well, I think at least a few of them can handle themselves, at least if the stories I've been told are true. Dr. Handler speaks very highly of your resourcefulness, Anna and Arson. And Jack has a look of a man who can handle himself. And
I'm curious about just how much
Minnie
he
is
told
going
you.
to require some significant protection, I'm afraid. No offense, dear, but you don't seem to be the type. You don't seem to be the rough and tumble type. Yes, Arson.
I'm curious about how much he told you.
Oh, nothing that would violate doctor-patient privilege, I'm sure. I know that that's a concept that Dr. Handler holds dear to his heart.
I'm going to have a conversation with him later.
Just be sure.
Mr. Forrester or the doctor?
The doctor.
Yeah.
I think.
Just a word of advice. If he pulls out his pocket watch, maybe don't let him swing it in front of your face before you have the conversation.
But he says that's key to his methods.
Oh, it is. Absolutely it is. But if you want to have a conscious conversation with him, you might choose a different path.
Noted.
The doctor's a very, very useful individual. Has some very valuable skills. And apparently gathering interesting people who have the intelligence and resources necessary to solve problems is one of them. Oh, and don't worry, he told me that he expected to be compensated for bringing you and I together. I suspect he may attempt to charge you out of the payment I give you. I have already paid him. So don't allow him to... He's a forgetful fellow, you know. So if he asks you for a percentage of your payment, you can remind him that I have paid him already.
I could get a letter to that effect. That would be very nice.
Certainly. All right. Well, obviously, I don't carry quite that amount of cash on my person. But will a check suffice? Would you like them separately, or shall I provide a check, $100 check, and then you can divvy it up?
Separately, please.
All right.
Yeah.
So he will ring a bell, and someone will come in, and he'll say, "Please bring my checkbook," and he will write out 5 separate checks to you all. He'll have to inquire as to your last names, except for Arson and Anna, who he knows extremely well. He knows lots of information about, I should say.
It would just be 4 checks, because he would know that I would be coming back to the mansion for further employment.
Oh no, this is an addition, Felix. You go to correct him. It's like, oh no, not at all. I think you probably, while I do expect you to ensure that we get regular check-ins, and I'm going to hold you personally responsible to make sure that all information is shared with me, consider yourself part of the team. And as part of the team, you should be compensated just like the rest.
It's your bonus check.
Exactly. So he'll write out 5 checks, $20 each, and provide a note to Dr. Handler that Arson or Anna can hold on to. Just as a reminder. I heretofore certify that I've already paid Dr. Handler, and don't let him hypnotize you into giving you all his money. And also the snake oil is basically pure opium, so don't drink that either. Or else he will take all your money.
Oh, that I already knew about.
Right. So one of the reasons you need the money is like, I need more snake oil, man, just a taste.
I need more tincture.
Yes. All right. Well, with your signing bonus, you should be able to establish yourselves in suitable lodging. And here in this note, I have the necessary information for you to begin your investigation. As soon as you learn anything, or if you run into any dead ends, definitely come back or send Felix. And if you run into any unusual needs, I expect you to communicate that immediately. But do keep me informed. I'm afraid my friends are a little nervous and out of sorts at the moment. So the more information I can provide them, even if it seems trivial to you, would go far to settling their nerves. You hear a thump from above. Ah, well, I think that's enough for this evening. I bid you a good evening and good hunting. And he will sweep out.
Jack shakes his head a little bit and says, "Well, I guess I'm going to go find a place to sleep tonight."
Do we want to read the note first before we head on out?
I mean, we can read it now and we can sleep thinking about it, or we can sleep soundly tonight and then read the note in the morning over coffee.
I'm not gonna sleep soundly at all. Let me just read the note.
All right.
It's not going to be that bad.
It's actually relatively simple. The first part is a note to an individual named James from Mr. Forrester's, basically a note of introduction that says, "My dear James, these are the individuals I spoke to you about most recently. Thank you once again for holding the package. Please provide them the necessary access to examine it."
Okay.
And there's probably an address here in town.
So I assume package means body.
Yes. And perhaps, Anna, you've been in and out of Denver. You probably realize that the address is the morgue.
Okay.
It's associated with the university here.
Do we have an address for the site
Where the body is, and then below that initial note, there is also another location.
I'm going to assume that's going to be where the body was found.
Yes. And it
Where
is
the attack
under.
happened.
Yeah, it is under the Colson Road Bridge. And I'm going to say there's even a set of kind of like instructions, because he knows that you aren't native to Denver. It is kind of past the outskirts of town, but it's probably a 15-minute ride outside town proper to the south.
With me being familiar with Mr. Forrester, would he have maybe provided like a car to get around town a little easier?
Not quite cars yet.
Or
but there
horse and wagon?
There are cabs for hire. And I'm going to say you have a horse.
Okay.
And like people have, like, does Minnie have a horse? Or has Minnie been riding
description earlier? You mentioned that Minnie has a wagon, which, to be honest, probably makes sense, because if she's like trying to travel and sell things.
Yes, that's right. And making a living, kind of repairing things as you go, like if you need to. So as you are kind of have exited the manor and are sitting on the street, kind of talking about transportation, specifically to outside. You aren't going to need it in town. I mean, walking is perfectly fine. Denver is a big city by the standards of the time, but it's certainly not by ours. You could hire cabs if you want to waste the money. But when it comes to visiting outside town, Minnie will share that she does have a cart. And it might be a bit stiff, and you might have a bit tight, and you might have to shift some things, but you could certainly fit everyone. And Felix does have a horse. I don't know, Jack and Anna or Arson, if you have horses at this point.
No, at this point, Jack probably doesn't have a horse anymore.
Yeah, you might have lost it.
I was going to say, I know that last time we all started with horses, or at least borrowed horses.
Yes, you were. But that was the goal of that particular assignment, was to actually go far up into the mountains where it was required.
Correct.
In this case, it's mostly investigating around it. And Mr. Forrest trusts that you can make your way a few miles outside of town without, and that $20 each is probably sufficient to secure you any transportation that you need.
What time is it right now?
It was a relatively early supper, so it is still light, but it is probably 30 minutes from true twilight, like sunset. Like if as you look through the buildings, you can just still catch a little red arc of the sun as it's setting. So you have another maybe 45 minutes or even an hour before it's full night. As you're exiting, the street lamps are being lit. You hear the hiss and pop as the lamplighter goes along, and the smell of the gas.
The fresh oil.
as we're making our way out, Arson is going to try and come up behind Jack and come up to the side of him and kind of nudge him in the shoulder as they're walking.
Arson?
Jack? Now listen, $100 is a lot of money. $20 is also not a small amount of money.
Correct.
I'm guessing this is just some deranged lunatic, but chances not I intend to leave. First opportunity I get, if things start to go weird. Do I have your back?
Yeah, I mean, you got my back, assuming it's not ahead of you running away.
Good to know. And he kind of slaps Jack on the back. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, let's not have a repeat of that fishing trip.
Yeah. And he looks back to the rest of them.
A cloaked individual approaches you on the street to the sound of strange chanting. Everyone just runs off in random directions. The end.
Yes.
They're doing a good job. Probably when Arson moves up, Minnie probably falls in line with Anna and goes like, "So you all know each other?"
You could say that. We've worked together before.
Oh, that's nice. Is that why, with the recommendations and all?
Yeah. How are you recommended for this? Again, please refresh me.
Oh, I think it's because I gave a presentation to the local spiritual society using my camera that can take pictures of ghosts and things. Pretty sure it's ghosts. Probably ghosts. And I guess word got around to him that I have such a camera, which is good because I needed this job. Turns out there isn't really much of a market for like ghost cameras. It's so weird.
I can see that market being a little hard to break through, yeah.
Oh, it's probably someone in that group must be part of his a group of friends or whatever.
You said how big was your camera?
Well, I mean, it fits in this. Hoists up the camera box again.
Yeah, I mean, you're maybe walking a little bit crooked because you're carrying this big satchel with it, but
Yeah, I got it. The large
Yeah.
satchel with the camera and the other like satchel full of like pictures and other things like that.
Do you want
And I'm
any
like, "Oh, I
help?
Oh no, I've got it fine," she says, waddling along.
Well, when we get to our lodgings, we didn't really have a chance at dinner. I just would love to see those pictures.
Oh, yes, of course. I'm staying on the edge of town, but we could probably move to a better location.
Where
These
are you
checks
staying?
yet.
Just at like a...
it's a boarding house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We could probably... Do you think it's too late to go to the morgue?
Well, what I was kind of hoping, because it's maybe too late to go to the actual scene, but even if I could just stop by the morgue and get that part investigated now, I mean, the morgue has their own lights.
Oh, that'd
Whether
be good.
people want to go or not, I could just meet up with y'all later. Not that we have the best history with splitting the party, but
You should
whatever.
definitely split the party. That worked out. So that's definitely not the reason that last time was so horrific. Definitely do it, please.
I would say
Well-
Felix would be following all four of them and noticing that Jack and Arson kind of partnered up, and then Anna and Minnie partnered up, and just kind of watching behind everybody.
Hey, guys. Wanna go to the morgue? Before it gets too dark. It's still light enough.
And
You guys can wait outside if you don't want to come inside.
from the tone of the note, you gather that perhaps a more surreptitious approach is good. Given that the note didn't say, "Hi there, these people are completely legally authorized to go poke around a dead body. It's totally fine." It's more like, "Hey, show these people the package." So you think that maybe showing up not in the middle of the day where there are likely other physicians and attendants, etc., might be a good plan.
Okay. That's convinced me. Anna wants to go to the morgue.
We can go to the morgue, and if the bank is still open, we can get these cashed and
The bank is
place to
not.
stay. Bank is not.
The
We'll have
bank
to
is
wait.
not. However, I would say anyone who has been in Denver recently, and certainly Felix, who has been around Denver very recently, knows that the Cambridge Hotel has recently opened. It's quite nice. It is the type of place that none of you would ordinarily stay due to its cost, but it is advantageously positioned, and it is quite lovely. Has a lot of wonderful services, and with your $20, you should very well be able to cover it.
Only like $1 per night.
Yeah, as long as I'm not spending all my $20 I just got.
Yeah. I think if you partner up, if you share rooms, it should be non-trivial. Non-trivial,
Okay.
but not break the bank.
So morgue, then hotel?
Sounds great.
Sounds great.
All right.
Dead bodies aren't the ones that scare me.
All right.
With me knowing Mr. Forrest, would I know his reputation around the city?
I think that should be a roll.
Yeah.
I think that is probably, I think a psychology, because I think it comes from observing the people that you've seen interact with him. Otherwise, if it's more like you've been out socializing, I could see fast talk. Just to
I
kind
would
of like,
probably say that I would probably not exactly, in his presence and people that he's trying to hire, talk trash about him. But I would say definitely like maybe at the bar after a few drinks, like, wow, this guy is kind of really stuck. You know, what do you guys think about him?
yeah, and by fast talk, it's more like trying to get information out of someone without revealing that you're trying to get information. So that would be fast talk, or if you're being more passive and just observing, that would be, I think, psychology. Like if you, for example, drop the name and say, "Oh, I'm working for Mr. Forrest," and you then are observing their reaction to get a gauge on them, that would be psychology. So your choice.
I would probably definitely want to go a little bit more passive about it.
Cool.
Just so
your
that way it
scores are
doesn't
not
get back to
awesome.
him.
Your scores
No,
are not
they're-
awesome in either. But give me a reason to provide you with a bonus. Like what is your approach? What other skills do you use that might give you a potential leg up in this?
So the reason why I would ask would be like getting into the morgue, or maybe there's some crime tape around where the body was found to go, okay, hey, I can take these 4 into this crime. And be like, oh, hold on, we're here for this such and such and such. We're fine. We'll only be a second. Or maybe there's some crooked cops that I'm like, hey, I know this guy, kind of. Hey, here's $2, look the other way. And I know that he's going to go, hey, he works for Mr. Forrester.
Yes. What I would say that the no roll needed, because now I understand what you're trying to get at. I think you have noticed enough in the past couple of weeks of seeing him interact with people, and just, in your kind of going about your normal day and people inquiring and you saying the name. I think you would know that he is wealthy and therefore respected.
Okay.
But I think there you have noted a bit of fear.
Okay.
Like more than once, you've been in conversation at a saloon and mentioned who you
Almost
work
like a
for,
mob
and
boss.
people kind of go, oh, okay, well, have a great night, you know.
Mhm.
So there's some, at minimum, trepidation, and maybe a little bit of fear and concern. So he
Yeah,
clearly
okay.
wields some influence. So you think, one, cops are 100%. I mean, Arson can tell you a lot of lawmen are corrupt
Can be
or
prisoners.
corruptible. But you think that you could judiciously use Mr. Forrest's name if you needed to, say, intimidate your way in somewhere.
Okay.
You probably also know that throwing his name around is maybe not a good idea, but judiciously used, you
Pros
think
and cons.
it might give you a benefit if you needed to, put some people in their place.
Okay.
Good deal. So you make your way towards the university, towards the address. What happens?
I guess just following the instructions and signs to get to the morgue. Is there someone there meeting us? Like he's works the night shift or something?
You know that the note is addressed to a James, I believe. I just made the name up, so I think it was James.
That's yeah. So we'll go to the morgue and try to find James.
How do you do that? So you're at the morgue. What is your plan to locate James?
Is the door open or is it locked or anything?
Roll luck.
Okay. How do you roll luck again? Remind me.
What is your luck?
47.
So roll 47 or below.
Okay. So that's a 58.
It is locked.
Darn. Does anyone know how to
You
pick a
think
lock?
turn around. I will pull out a bobby pin from my hair and start at the lock.
I love it. At the first minor obstacle, do crime. Perfect.
Why wouldn't we?
Right?
Jack instantly has his respect for Minnie go up a little bit, and he starts to look around. There's no police officers in the area.
Well, I've already botched the roll anyway. Unless why do we do boon things in this?
Reroll.
Boons.
Boon thing.
Reroll, or you can instead swap the values. So like if you rolled a 91 and you wanted to make it a 19.
They're both sevens.
Oh, that's a critical fail. I love it.
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah, I forgot.
I don't like that at all.
Doubles are extra special too.
Okay.
Boon thing.
So you can just
I will
if you want to
just-
spend that major boon to reroll.
Yeah, I'll just reroll. Wow. Okay. Well. Okay. It's 88 now, so I'll just take it. I'll just take this failure, this horrible failure.
So
Is that respect for Minnie still there? Or is
so-
it just
It
So-
immediately left.
everyone turns around at Minnie's request. Jack is busy, like watching for, like doing the appropriate skulking to make sure that no, you're not being observed. Minnie is very distracted, realizing that a bobby pin is not remotely. This is not a complex lock, but it's rather heavy, and a bobby pin is going to be completely insufficient. But you're very aware that this is a opportunity to impress your new colleagues. So you're not going to give it up without a good college try. And so you don't notice the light approaching from the inside. So you are in the process of picking this lock when the door just opens.
Oh, hi.
Felix is gonna instantly spin
We're
around.
looking for
James?
we're looking for James.
This individual, kind of salt and pepper hair, with the kind of bald horseshoe, in a doctor's coat that is rumpled and stained. Smell wafting out is not so pleasant. Kind of myopic eyes. Like this is someone who maybe hasn't quite clocked exactly what's going on, but heard someone spending a good 30 seconds rattling with a lock, and kind of peers at you getting a little bit close, kind of peers at the bobby pin that is still held. What do you want?
I tuck the bobby pin into my hair normally.
Right. What do you want? What are you doing?
Oh, we're looking for James?
What do you want him for? What are you doing here? What are you doing at that door?
Oh, he asked us to come.
We were meeting him from our friend, and I'll look at Felix like, "Hello, it's what you."
So you want James? You're not up to any funny business, are you?
James,
Oh, no,
James
sir.
told us to be here, and he said the door would be unlocked. And we came, and it was locked, and so we were very kind of odd. So we kind of started messing with the lock a little bit, and
I didn't want to wake anyone up.
yeah. So he said he would be up, and he had a body to show us.
You can't go showing bodies. What's that fool
I'm a
up to?
doctor. I'm a doctor. I'm allowed
You're
to.
a doctor.
Yes,
That's a likely
I am.
story.
Take that attitude somewhere else.
She's a very good doctor. I've seen her doctor myself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Look at Arson's hand. I doctor that. It's like stitched up. It's got
Yeah.
scars all over.
Arson holds his hand. He's like looking James in the eye, and there's a couple scars across like the pads of his palm, where it looks like a piece of glass had on several different occasions sliced it up.
Now
So-
I know that most of the world is still stuck in their ways, but I figured Denver would be a little more accepting.
He'll kind of scoff at you, and then he'll actually he'll just grab your hand very roughly there, Arson, and then bring it up really close to his face,
Hey, don't get so grabby.
so he
It's
can
my
see
work.
it.
Be careful.
This is good work,
Thank you. Now let him go.
right? As a hint, a little fast talk would probably go a long way to allaying this grumpy old man's suspicions. If only one of you was relatively decent in fast talk.
If
If only.
Reasonably
If only.
fast talk.
And literally only one of you is going to fall.
It's not the people currently
Critical
talking.
success with a 7 out of 10.
Ooh, excellent. So how do you allay this man's suspicions and make him go away?
We'll just lean into the fact that Anna is clearly an amazing doctor. She was sent over here on a recommendation from Dr. Forrest to talk with this James fellow who apparently had an interesting example to show Anna to get some further education for the university.
All right. And Anna probably chimes in with the name of some institute of higher learning on the East Coast from which you have your bona fides. He probably goes, "Oh yes, I heard they were graduating women now." So with a
One
bit
of the
of,
only places.
Yeah,
Yes.
throw out like Boston Tech or something like that.
you're right. Yeah, DeVry. So with the example of your fine handiwork and the reference to this being a purely academic expedition, and maybe the subtle name drop of Dr. Forrest, which was a good guess. I've got things to do anyway. You make sure James locks this door again. Can't have people traipsing in and out.
Of course.
Okay.
All right. Well, he's down in the morgue.
Thank you.
We'll head right there. Thank you.
All right.
As they walk away, Anna's grumbling to herself.
Yeah, and then he'll give one last suspicious kind of myopic glare at Minnie, who he's still pretty convinced was trying to break in because she was, and he caught her. But he's still not sure. So you
It
are
was dark.
He's not sure because she's bad at it.
well, and also and he wasn't wearing glasses, so all good. When he was in there for a minute, and then, but you'll have plenty of opportunities. All right. Yes. So there are. It's a teaching facility, therefore there are signs. You can follow them, and you go down a set of stone stairs. The temperature drops significantly. You are in what is effectively a big cellar. The smell is
locker.
that you can smell the carbolic acid used to disinfect, prevent disease from spreading, and for Anna, the unmistakable odor of decay.
When we get up to the morgue, like, are the lights on? Are people?
No, you haven't seen any other people. The old man kind of he goes down the hallway that you're going down, and then kind of goes off into a branching hallway, and you hear like an office door close, and a little bit of muttering. But you follow the signs down a set of stairs into the basement, effectively. And there are low gaslight sconces, but you haven't encountered any individuals wandering around.
I'm just going to the morgue.
All right.
I'm
You
assuming
do.
there's multiple rooms of the morgue, right?
Yes.
Like different operating rooms.
Yes. Typically there would be storage and then an examination. Individuals who are being examined post-mortem typically don't rate their own room. And then, various different storage rooms for supplies, etc. Very few people would want to keep their office in this particular part of the business, this particular part of the building, and it's not particularly large. Most individuals don't undergo post-mortem examination. They're simply buried quickly before they stink up the place. So, and it does not appear, you can tell, Anna, unlike some working morgues that you've been around, this is very familiar to your university experience. There's a very heavy scent of formaldehyde. So your guess is, and you can see down at the end of the hall, a pair of double doors. And there is a sign above it that says examination theater. And so from your experience, you would guess that this is where the demonstrations and dissections take place. And these would be either fresher or to some degree preserved. I don't know if formaldehyde's been invented yet, but it's something to preserve the bodies for medical examination or teaching. So, what happens?
Probably takes us a little bit to find the right drawer and locker with the body, but after a couple minutes of poking around, we find it.
Well, I would say there are no drawers and lockers, but so you're just going to explore. Cool. Go ahead and give me. Let's just have everyone do a spot hidden. It's not quite the right check, but it's more just like what signs do you pick up on.
21.
Ooh, over what? Under what?
45.
Oh, excellent. So 21 under 45. Good.
25 under 60.
Ooh, people are being very perceptive.
26.
Fail.
Under
Sorry.
50.
Okay, so not
Just in
quite.
regular
Still regular
amount.
success. Arson, Felix.
86 over 60.
Okay.
Fail 67 out of 60.
Okay. Felix is probably paying more attention to these people, trying to get a read on them. Arson, you poke your head into one of these rooms, and the doors are maybe a little bit lighter than you expected it to be, and it kind of swings and hits a table, a cloth-covered table, and is jostled, and a hand falls out and from underneath the thing, and then so you have a moment where your phobia of hands is triggered, which renders you a bit less observant. But for those of you who got an exceptional success, you correctly deduce which of these rooms would be kind of like the storage area, and assume that that's where it would be. And as you approach, you hear a sound that attracts your attention.
Listen check?
If you like.
Yeah.
Is that for only the people that
Yes.
succeeded?
Yes.
Failure.
I failed to listen.
I'm gonna spend some luck to make it. If it's on the same number, it
It's
still
a success.
passes, right?
Yeah, you have to
I'm
meet
gonna
or under.
spend some luck to make it the same number.
All right. You, Anna, hear a tearing sound but it's wet somehow. It's a viscerally unpleasant, organic sound.
We got our guns back, right?
Of course.
Yes. I would give them back to everybody, yes.
Does the door or the room that we're going into have like one of those peek through windows, or is it just
It does not. So, what do you do? Because Minnie, Jack, and Anna all kind of heard something, but only Anna clued in that there maybe is something happening. So, in that moment, what do you do?
Well, that doesn't verbalize. Whatever is in there doesn't sound particularly pleasant, but it might be normal. Okay, maybe we're on guard. Is it like continuing?
This is literally what in the.
Oh.
So you are approaching the door. As you get near the door, you hear and register the sound. I'm
Anna
curious
has her
what your choice
scalpel out.
is in response.
To pull out a weapon and say that doesn't sound the greatest. Could be fine, but it could be not fine.
All right. So you draw your weapon so everyone can see it. This will absolutely attract Felix and Arson's attention because you're not far away. And then you, I assume, quietly or loudly.
Yeah, I like peek in first, like just creak open the door.
So I'm just being a stickler for order of operations because it matters. Do you draw your gun, warn people, then look in, or do you,
Yes.
as you're looking in, draw your gun? It's the speed with which you get a look inside that I'm mostly curious about.
As I'm drawing as I'm looking inside.
All right. And you don't take time to say anything.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, we'll do
Okay.
that then.
So Anna maybe pauses for a moment. And then what Jack, Minnie, Felix, and Arson see is Anna pull out her little tiny pistol, your lady pistol, as you open the door. Well, first thing I would like you to do is give me a sanity check.
Okay.
And your limited sanity loss does not apply because while there may be gore, that is not what you're reacting to.
Ooh, a 27 out of 63.
Excellent. Take one.
Okay.
Because it is unclear to you what you are looking at. It is.
Yeah.
There are some tables that are covered in cloth, clearly occupied. There's probably one or two that are not. There is also an individual young man lying on the floor. His clothes have been removed, but like cut off. So it's like he's laying on the remains of his clothing, but he is quite nude. His leg above the knee and kind of like from like one side from the waist or top of the hip down and to just above the knee is missing. The lower leg is still present. And there is a figure standing over him. The figure is humanoid, but twisted and broken and incomplete. It's almost like you took a person and folded them like origami somehow. I'm not describing it well because I'm trying to describe something that's eldritch and mind-breaking. But it is clearly a seemingly physical entity, but almost like folded in on itself and incomplete somehow.
Human twister.
Kind of. There are unnatural angles to it. It is quite gaunt. And asymmetrical, in that as it stands, one of its legs is very thin and very long, and the other is rather thick. There's an unusual geometry to its torso. You're opening the door, although relatively quiet, is enough to attract its attention, and it turns a gaze at you. But where a face should be is simply a blank. Like a sheet of flesh drawn over a skull. So there's enough that you can recognize a bit of a prominence for a nose, a bit of a hollow for a mouth and eyes. So you know it's a head, but there's no features.
Head empty, no thoughts.
So, what do you do?
It's noticed me.
Yes.
Is it like standing aggressively? I mean, obviously.
Well, it was busy doing something, and now its attention has been attracted to you. But because you passed your sanity check, you are not frozen in horror. You may do something.
Yeah. The gun is out fully now. Is there like a limit to how much I can say?
Reasonable, right?
Okay.
Like you're probably not going to get off the Gettysburg Address. But you can say a reasonable amount, move a reasonable amount, and do a thing.
Okay.
If you want to start stacking up multiple actions, I'm going to start applying penalties.
Yeah, that's fair. You just tell me when it's too much, because I guess first I'll go, that's really bad. Weapons out, guns out. And then I guess just push the door open further. Sorry, you guys, I'm just gonna flash you with eldritch horrors, but like, we gotta get to it somehow. So pushing the door open, and I'll aim my gun at it.
All right.
And if it's just gonna leave us alone, I'm not gonna shoot first because there's someone else in the building. But I'm ready to.
So you're intentionally not attacking.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I'm observing while showing everyone horrors.
Okay. So, all right. Well, everyone can now see. I'll say it's positioned advantageously such that and we have a very dramatic scene. Everyone started moving over in this direction as soon as they saw you drawing a weapon. So in that few seconds, people got close enough that as you kick this door wide open, the full scene is apparent to everyone. I would definitely like everyone to give me a sanity check.
That's a good success. 34 under 68.
Beautiful.
That's
Take
a
one.
96.
Ooh, great. Have you ever encountered... You've encountered spooky things.
Yeah.
But you have not... have you ever encountered gory stuff before?
No.
And you've never
I'm a
encountered
mechanical
monstery
engineer.
stuff before?
No, just ghost things.
So I think I'm going to need you to roll... How mean do I want to be? I want to be super mean, and I want you to roll 2d6. Because it's kind of like two things in one.
Yeah.
And that was a terrible roll, so and the total is going to matter.
I got a 9.
Oh, so more than 5, but less than 10, which
Yeah.
is good.
Yeah.
So when Minnie freaks out, what does Minnie do? This is momentary madness?
I don't like. I assume it would just kind of be like freeze in place or something.
Okay. So you're literally just frozen in terror.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's acceptable. And there may be other things that happen as a result, but it's acceptable. Everyone else passed?
23 out of 50.
Awesome. Actually, I'm going to say if you got an extraordinary success, don't take any. A regular success will be take one. Good. Especially
and I take 9, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So great. Now, who has the highest dexterity, and maybe wants to shoot? So
This guy right here.
yes.
Felix.
I say Felix or maybe even Minnie, because Minnie's got a pretty high dex too.
Minnie is frozen.
But I'm scared.
Yeah,
I'm scared.
Minnie has the same dex, but doesn't get to add 50 because she doesn't have a readied weapon. So I'm gonna say the order goes. So it's 100. Because the only other person actually, Felix still has the highest dex. So Felix effectively has 130 dexterity at the moment. After that is if you plan to shoot Anna, your dex is effectively 100. So we'll just say it's Felix, Anna, Arson. So Felix, Anna, Jack, Arson, and then we'll get to Minnie when Minnie.
I feel like Felix would delay after Anna, just for the simple fact that Anna saw it first, she had a gun ready, and then pushed it open. So I feel like he would be waiting on her cue to either to shoot or not to shoot.
Okay.
Because she saw it first.
You're making me make the decisions here.
Yeah, you saw it first.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see if it's attacking us first.
All right. So Felix, I'm sure. I assume you pull the gun out, right?
Yeah.
So you go ahead and do the quick draw, and probably put it in your sights, but don't actually fire.
Correct.
So Anna, it begins to move in your direction.
Okay, fine. I'll shoot it.
Okay. You are prepared. I will say you get the drop.
I'm
You still
prepared.
have the drop on it. This is literally all happening in 3 seconds, so you still have somewhat surprised it.
Okay, how do I...
So you're going to go ahead and make a firearms check, specifically fire handguns.
Okay. I want to use one of our major boons to flip my numbers.
Awesome.
Yeah. To a 29.
Oh, good call. So a regular success, and that's with your 44 Derringer. So go ahead and roll 1d10 plus 2.
10.
Plus 2 or 10 total?
10 total.
Cool. You shoot it right between what would be its eyes.
Ugh. I think you need eye holes. I can help with that.
Right. And something sprays out the back of its head. And I will say it momentarily kind of shakes its head, but it doesn't drop.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's not great.
No.
So, Felix, you see Anna shoot. Blow this thing's brains out, and then it takes another step.
I'm going to go ahead and take a shot at it, but I am not going to aim for its head.
Okay.
I'm going to aim for the heart.
Okay.
Just for the simple fact of what Mr. Forrester said to us is that everything had a heart still.
It's a good
Just
guess.
to kind of, hey, the headshot didn't work. Well, fine. We'll aim for the heart.
Yeah, it's a good guess.
Alright, 75.
And there are mechanical things like called shots, but that's more like I want to shoot the gun out of their hand. I'm fine if you want to target like parts of a body in your clothes. So I'm not going to apply any penalty to this. Would you like to spend some luck to fire 2 bullets? Since that's the thing you can do.
Not this time. I'll see what happens the first time around.
Right.
A 45 out of 75.
Okay, so regular success. Go ahead and roll your 1d10 plus 2.
That is a 9 damage.
Ooh, excellent. Yeah, it's and this is a relatively large caliber revolver. So so it's not like a little hole appears. It's a lot of trauma. And I will say it again does not respond in pain. But it looks looser somehow. Like it shrinks a good 3 inches, but also gets a bit broader. And
Did it?
like it almost like it's compressing on itself a bit. And as it goes to take another step, there's a sickening sound as one of its legs, the long one, just kind of pops loose. And then it totters a little bit. And as it falls towards Anna, would you like to dodge for me?
Absolutely. Not great. Like a failure.
Oh, but not like a terrible failure or anything.
Not like a terrible failure, but like a failure.
All right. Would you then also, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, would you also give me a check against your constitution?
Sure. That one's better. That's a pass. Just a normal pass.
And just a normal pass. Excellent.
Yeah.
You take all of 1 point of harm.
Okay.
As it literally is just kind of falling and kind of just scrapes down you. Mostly bruising, but we'll say it catches, you put up the hand that doesn't have the gun to kind of block it, and it kind of catches against your wrist, and it's like as you see its hand on you, it's real disturbing. It has 2 thumbs, 1 on each side, and the fingers are mismatched, but it does have rather thickish nails on at least a couple of the fingers, and you get a bit of a scrape on your hand. So nothing terrible.
Ew. Okay.
And it is silently pulling itself further toward you. Now that it hits the ground, I'll say the other leg pops off.
Ugh.
But it's still trying to pull itself, like grasping at your ankles. Jack, what you doing?
Pulling out my pistol and shooting it.
Good idea.
Failure.
Just goes wild into the fire into the tile floor.
It's freaky. I panic a little bit.
Arson.
Same thing. Like as soon as he saw Anna take the gun out, he had started reaching for his own, but he was a little bit slow on the draw, and he's making his way forward and bringing his pistol up into position. That is a 67. That is almost a failure, but it is still a success. It's 1d10 plus 2. 11 damage total.
Excellent. So you come in, this thing is on the ground. You just kind of have to barge through people to get a good angle and just kind of fire down into, probably instinct, into the rack of the back of its head. And the bullet goes in and then down, like following almost the spine, down into the torso. And it shudders for a moment. Instead of trying to grab at Anna's ankles, its wrists kind of bend backward more than they should, and it kind of curls up, not expressing. There's no sound other than a sick kind of sucking noise, and then it just falls to pieces. Like the fingers fall off the hands, and the hands detach at the wrists. One of the arms detaches at the elbow, the other one at the shoulder. It's a pile of pieces now.
Anna's gonna fall on hands and knees and catch her breath, because that's terrifying.
I'm gonna go ahead and shove past Anna and see who the guy was that it was attacking.
No one that you recognize. I would say young individual, from the scraps of his clothing, kind of not dressed like a fancy individual by any means.
Is he still breathing at all?
No.
No.
I would say you probably also being the first one to actively be examining. Go ahead and make it a spot hidden.
48 over 60.
Under 60? Good.
Yes.
So you also notice that, yeah, I will say, as you're examining the scene, you notice that the body on the ground is missing some other pieces. And
like fingers and toes and stuff.
Yeah, and like there's kind of an opening, like a surgical opening in the abdomen. But I will say, you probably, based on skin tone, you recognize that like one of the missing fingers is one of the fingers that's in the pile now, or you intuit it. So you're not quite sure how you know, but as you're taking a quick kind of tactical stock, you're like, there's bits and pieces here that are missing, and some obvious piece of it is laying on the floor. Like at first you're not sure, is it a piece that was removed from the body is laying there, but then as you look at how the body kind of spilled into pieces, it was actively part of the body until it disassembled. Yeah. And I would say, based on that, as you look further, you can see that most noticeable chunk, hip to just above knee, is now in the pile that was the creature.
Interesting. Would I know the mortician that we were trying to try to come find? No. Okay.
No. But James. And this looks like a dude that might be called James.
Well, so is that body over there, though. Yeah.
Yeah. But typically morticians don't lie down underneath. Like, this is a person who was clearly alive a moment ago. Yeah. So it's not, you don't know for sure, but it's not an unreasonable assumption that this might be the person that you were intended to meet.
Hey, Anna, can you come look at this recently dead body? Not the one that we shot a whole bunch, but this one over here.
Yep. On my way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go over.
All
And
right.
like mental pep talking.
Yes. You want to
Arson,
go
I
ahead
come
and
over to help
give me a
Anna stand up.
medicine. And actually, Anna, give me a spot hidden and a medicine,
Okay.
but in that order. And anyone else who is moving into this room can give me a spot hidden too.
Spot hidden, success, normal,
Okay.
and then you said medicine?
Now,
Oh.
I will give you a choice. So, as you, with your practice physician's eye, and you move, you are now like not under immediate threat, and you're kind of assessing the situation. So, the nearest table to this deceased gentleman and the pile of used to be creature has a woman's body on it. It is also missing pieces. But something catches your eye about it, something off, beyond the fact that it's missing pieces. So you may examine the gentleman or the, I mean, you could wind up examining both of them. I'm just curious which one you examine, the gentleman or the woman.
I think I would start to go towards the gentleman, and then seeing that I do intend to come back and like do both. And also I do want to examine the thing that fell apart, but I'll kind of sidetrack and go over to the woman first.
Yes. Go ahead and make your medicine check.
Oh, that's really great. That's a 5.
Oh, wow. So you know all the things.
Aha. I was like, oh, wait, what's this? Ooh, what's this?
Yes. You notice that she probably came from a relatively impoverished childhood, just given the overall formation. She's quite a small woman, but based on overall body condition, she probably has a reasonable life now, meaning that she's not emaciated or anything like that, but she's maybe her growth was stunted by a difficult childhood. You pick up some scarring that might be due to a childhood illness. Like, you're doing a full kind of rapid assessment because your physician's brain is kicked in. The two things that you notice that are odd is that even the sharpest surgeon's scalpel leaves a trace, leaves cut marks, right? And especially to cut through limbs or to excise organs, it is multiple cuts. What you are seeing in terms of the exposed areas where there are missing pieces is utterly clean, as if it was removed by the sharpest knife in the world in a single stroke, or in some other fashion separated from the body. The other thing you notice is that, unlike the other injuries that are very clean, the jaw is broken. There is tearing and damage of the lips. Some of the teeth are broken, and they were broken out, not in. As if something forced its way out. And a quick examination would reveal that this damage was post-mortem, whereas the other damage was peri-mortem. So you don't know whether it happened. She may have been alive for all or part of it, but it certainly happened close to the time of death. Whereas the damage to the throat, mouth, and jaw was, you don't know when, but certainly well after she died.
Yeah. In which, what is she missing aside from the cuts?
Quick check. Liver, foot below the ankle, a piece of skin from the back and side over the ribs. The left leg is intact, but the femur appears to be missing. So it's just kind of like a deflated mass.
Did her femur crawled its way out of her body? Looking, and it might not be, but looking at the amalgamation mess that we shot apart, are any of the body parts hers?
Hard to say, but not that you can immediately notice.
Okay.
You would need to do a full postmortem on really all three and see if you could identify. But I would say a cursory glance, and that was a really excellent roll. So I'm kind of taking in learnings that you're getting from, cursory examination of this entire scene. Your guess is that the creature is probably made up of you're not sure if it's parts of her, it's parts of him. And there are parts of the creature that don't seem to be parts, if that makes sense. What I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
There's some sort of substantial portion of the body that doesn't appear to be just an amalgam of stuff. So there's more of it than would be accounted for by the missing pieces of her or him.
In order to also help Villain get out, I want to do like a thorough examination of all three, but I'll look up at Felix and say maybe I know we have to report frequently, but I bet Mr. Forrester would like to know that one of his contacts was just murdered.
I agree with that. I would definitely say this is probably James, the one that we were meant to meet here at the morgue, was just murdered right in front of us.
You can take a picture with Minnie's camera.
That is up to her.
Take it back as proof, but that might be something they have to know because they were saying anyone could be next. Well, I think it was James.
Well, and your photographs are not exactly instant. You could you could expose the plate, but then would need to process it.
It might not be a half bad idea to take a picture just in case if there's some maybe residual words, something maybe lingering behind that maybe your photo might be able to pick up that we can't see with the naked eye.
Yeah, of course, says Minnie after finishing basically throwing up the entire dinner over in a corner somewhere.
Yeah. I think Minnie has just been
I would love to do that.
standing
Gives her a
still,
sympathetic look, like, yeah.
standing still this entire time.
Yeah, a normal thing to do.
And I have to examine all three bodies if you want to alert your boss.
Yes, I can do that. Arson, Jack, are you able to kind of handle everything?
Arson has gone back down the hall to listen to see if anyone is coming to investigate the flurry of gunshots.
Yes. Thus far, you haven't noticed anyone.
Arson nods at Felix, but doesn't trust himself to speak.
We can meet back at the hotel or something. I don't plan to stay here long.
So I'll meet you guys back at the hotel. You guys are staying at the new one that was just built, correct?
To Cambridge.
Yeah,
Cambridge?
Cambridge.
Yeah.
All right, I will meet you all back there once I inform Mr. Forrester of what happened here at the morgue.
Excellent. Good. And you've got to bounce. That's
Yes.
good. All right. Thank you. See you next time.
Hi, Villain.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Cool. So, thus far, the gentleman, that the older gentleman has not come. Don't know what that means. Could be he didn't hear because he was somewhat older. And he was talking rather loud, the way people who are hard of hearing might be, and did ask a couple of times for you to repeat yourselves. So maybe that he was a little bit drunk, or maybe he has run for the constables. Don't know for sure. I will say you don't know how long you have before you are disturbed, if at all.
We'll just get to work on James real quick.
All right.
And I'll set up the camera to take pictures
Excellent.
of. I don't know what's in front of me. Let's not look at it too closely. I'm sure it will be in focus.
Yeah, if you focus on the camera and dissociate, you won't really see what's going on. The camera will do the work for you, Minnie.
Yes. And I think in your experience, the best results are when you take a relatively wide shot. Not that you have a lot of choices when it comes to focal depth, but you're probably angling it such that you can get the maximum view. So I am curious, aside from Anna, who else is present in the photograph?
Nope.
I don't think Arson would be like after he was sure that nobody was like immediately coming like they would if they were barreling in to investigate. He would have wandered back over, but would have stayed away from the technical equipment.
Yeah, keeping watch, as it were. So this will be a photograph of an examination room with a probably blurry image of Anna, who is examining an individual on the floor.
It's me with all my ghost friends.
Maybe. So yes, you set the exposure. Are you trying to do anything fancy?
No. Just the normal ghost stuff.
Cool. You were just freaking out, though.
I was just freaking out.
So I would like you to give me your choice. You can make a easy photography check. So that would be double your score. Or you can make a luck check.
Let's try easy photography.
Okay.
Ooh, I got a 9.
9 under what?
70.
70?
Yeah.
Excellent. So the advice that you were given to just focus on the mechanics, focus on the machine, this is just a scene like any other, does calm you and makes it easy for you to take a lovely photograph, in fact. I mean, the composition's wonderful. You get the lighting really good. You probably even think to turn up the gas lights a bit because for the sake of the exposure. Yes, and you pull out a plate that you had prepared very recently, so it's quite fresh and very sensitive. So you are going to get an exceptional result on this photograph, which therefore means it may reveal a lot of interesting information. Cool. Anna, you find, I mean, it's gross. You find missing bits and pieces, etc.
Is it pretty much the same as the woman?
Yeah.
Okay. Then if there's nothing crazy on James, excuse me, I'll go over reluctantly but curiously to the just disastrous mess of Mr. Twister.
Yeah.
And start. I do want to, if possible, if there's enough, get like a vial of whatever came out of him.
Yes. It is most certainly not blood. You're not sure what it is. It is viscous. It is a grayish black. So thicker than blood. It has a almost fishy smell.
Okay, that's gross.
It does seem organic, but it is unlike any blood or ichor that you are familiar with.
Take a couple of vials of that if there's enough for it, like maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as I am going through it and collecting the vials, is there anything weird about
I
this
think
one
I think the thing that
aside
you
from everything?
yeah, I think the thing that you notice is that the difference between the two types of flesh. There clearly are pieces, right? Largely from this young man who you assume probably correctly to be James. The rest of it is relatively pliable, meaning it's kind of bendy and elastic, and it kind of like I'll say you kind of put some pressure on the kind of general sternum area and it gives a lot more than it should. But I think the thing that catches your eye is the areas where the pieces were joined to this main body are perfectly smooth.
There's nothing like connecting. There's no stitches or.
Not anymore. But you would expect, like, if you separated a finger, there to be like a wound, if you will. This looks like it was just like literally stuck together.
Hmm.
And as you like examine one of the hands, the hand that you saw like very closely that scratched you, and it had the two thumbs on it, one of the thumbs or appendages is still attached. It's part of that main body. I would say that it looks to you almost like someone took another thumb and stuck it on, and somehow the hand molded itself in a strange way to be able to not only maintain the connection, but to use it.
With any amount of tugging or pulling, does it come back off, or is it like stuck on there?
All the pieces that were adhered are no longer adhered. What remains of the kind of main body is all one
Okay.
whole thing. Do you do an internal examination?
Yeah. Pull out my trusty scalpel.
Yeah. You're not sure what most of what is inside this thing is. In fact, it is largely hollow. There's like strings and strands of fascia holding bits and pieces together, but it's almost like a thick, gooey spider web on the inside. But you do see a lovely pink kidney caught up in that web of stuff. But now it's just kind of sitting there loose in the cavity.
I'm gonna poke at it, pull it out.
Yeah. It's still warm.
Is there anything in it, or is it just like a normal functioning kidney?
Looks like a kidney of a healthy adult male.
Okay. This is awful, you guys.
God.
Anna has the worst look on her face right now.
I mean, you survived the last one so well. We have to up the stakes somehow. Sorry,
Yeah.
did I say that out loud?
You say survive like it was a sure thing.
It's fine. You're all good. You're stronger now.
I do want to take, whether internal or external or both, a little bit of its flesh and put it in
Okay.
a jar as well.
The skin is very difficult to cut, but I will say you were able to grab some of it, and you're able to like use some forceps to pull out some of the strands of this kind of dark jelly-like. It's like thick mucus that has solidified into these strands.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no internal structure to it. It's literally just weird spiderwebby strands of goop.
Okay. There's nothing else I think I'm seeing or missing. Then Anna will get up and immediately go walk to a sink and start washing her hands.
Yeah. By which you mean a bucket that has already kind of dirty water in it? Sure.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's true. So what happens? Is Arson still there? Has Arson just run away? It's like, nope, I'm out.
Arson is still there. So I imagine the floor of the examining room, it's kept tidy, but it's probably not the cleanest floor. So what I was wondering was whether there's any marks of like movement in and around the room. Like, so Arson, after Minnie finishes taking the photograph, he's kind of standing to the side. He's got his eye on the ground. He's trying to see if there's any marks of like, well, where did this thing come from? Like, are there any scuff marks on the floor? Any, not footprints exactly, but that kind of thing.
Yep. Go ahead and make a spot hidden.
Oh, I am going to use I'm going to use one of our major boons.
Okay. And for those who haven't played it, so like for you, Misha, minors are plus or minus 10.
Actually, yeah, I'll just use a minor then.
Okay.
Because it was a 70. No, it was a 76. So yeah, I got a reroll.
Okay.
So that's a major. That's also that's an 81. So I don't think I'm very successful. I'm probably I'm trying to be helpful, and I think to myself like, oh, maybe there's some kind of sign of like, did it climb in a window? Did it come in through the door? And I don't think I'm seeing anything.
Yeah, you're what you notice, I will say, is the disturbing lack of like, there's not a great way. Like, this room is windowless. There's one door. There's a disturbing lack. And frankly, aside from the fact that, the most violent thing, and to some extent, are the bullet holes and the broken tile. Like, this was and remarkably bloodless. If it wasn't like a big pile of body parts and several bodies missing pieces, this is not it's gross, but it's not particularly gory. So aside from the bullet holes and the throat, jaw, and mouth damage on the female corpse, those two things, and I'm giving you that even though you aren't noticing anything new, but in this look for like what stands out is the damage and violence that you guys wreaked, and this obvious violent event that damaged the female corpse's upper tract.
Did they say if cleanup was part of our job, or are they going to send someone to take care of this?
That Mr. Forrest did not specify.
I don't think we told anyone our names.
Other than Mr. Forrest, no.
Oh yeah, Mr. Forrest knows.
I mean, we did tell the old guy Anna's name.
Well,
Oh yeah, first name.
yeah.
And female doctor, right? So which is
There are
not
probably like a bunch of those guys. It's fine.
of course.
It's okay.
In the latter half of the 19th century in the Wild West, there were certainly lots of female doctors. There's Dr. Quinn and you. And Dr. Quinn has been canceled, so she doesn't count.
Well, I'll be canceled when I'm framed for being a murderer.
I know, right?
Yeah, and the university I graduated from. Should we try to find him? Is this him? Was anyone coming?
This is a young man. A young, slender,
I
but
meant
relatively
Mr.
healthy man.
Twister. I thought the old guy maybe turned into him.
Oh, who knows, right? So what do you want to do?
Is it just the one body on the floor and the one table with lady? There's
Technically, when you break it down, there's 2 and like 9/10 of a body.
Right. There are other bodies in the facility, but and if like you can lift up the sheets. They I mean they're dead people. Some died by violence, some obviously not. But none of them bear the telltale marks of missing pieces.
Okay, what if we stuff each of them separately in their own little tables, cover them with a sheet, and then get out of here?
We make the worst Easter egg hunt.
So we'll say collectively you take a little bit of time to clean up the scene.
Yeah, so that way if someone walks in the door, they're not gonna immediately go running for the cops, telling them about how this woman doctor came in and killed everyone.
Cool. Who wants to make a luck roll for me?
I'll do it.
Okay.
That is a 57. My luck is 65.
So 57 under 65, so a straight, just a regular success. Cool. Awesome. What happens now?
So after we kind of stash the body parts away, I think we probably have to try to like make our way out of the building stealthily, like listening as we go to make sure that we're staying away from any like janitors or anyone working late. The last thing we want to do is be seen leaving this scene.
All right, give me stealth rolls and listen.
I succeeded in my stealth.
Excellent.
Stealth, good, succeed, and then listen. Normal, succeed.
Okay, good.
And Anna's sticking like right next to Arson. Very quiet.
Jack.
Minnie's having
Over
a
it.
great day.
Excellent.
It's a regular amount of failure all around.
Good. So you fail on both?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Jack just fails his
I failed the stealth and I failed the listen.
Cool.
78 over 50 for the listen, and it was a like 30 something for this, over 20 for the stealth.
Okay. So no one fails horribly, but there's plenty of failure. So basically, you're all trying to be relatively quiet, but Minnie's been hauling this big, heavy camera around and is still probably a little bit shaken. So bashes it into the wall or bashes it into Jack's shin, and Jack, ow! So the three of you are like coordinating getting this heavy contraption out with you, while Minnie is like, oh, be careful, don't jostle the plates. Anna is super stealthy. And it's just like sneaking ahead into like in front of all of you. And I'm sure you're, high-heeled buckled shoes and your dress with the petticoats, right? But you've got them all gathered up and you're moving very silently. And you are the only person, as you pass the hallway that the old man had gone down, you're the only person who picks up on the drunken snoring coming from behind the closed office door.
Okay. Let's get
Hey,
out of
you
here.
passed the luck. He was like, I don't care where this look, sneak. And he was kind of half deaf already, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So you open out into the night air. It has cooled. So you're obviously at elevation. So as the sun has gone down, it has gotten significantly cooler. Although it is clammy and cool in the cellar. Something about being out in the fresh air, the crisp air rolling down off the mountains, the smell of pine being carried, and horse dung and open sewers. But there's a little bit of refreshment, a little bit of clarity seeps into your minds. Minnie, I'm sure, is somewhat preoccupied, given that that was your first real encounter with actual live horror. What happens now?
Give a little
What?
shiver and a deep breath and just start walking.
Yeah, Jack
To the
starts,
hotel.
with purpose to the hotel.
Arthos, your mic is still.
Play with it. Cool. Yes. You are. The good news is none of you went toe to toe with a creature or have. Anna, your hand has a little bit of a scrape. There's just a few drops of blood, but nothing major. It does itch.
But I washed it with
You
dirty
did.
water.
You did, right. So now you have typhus. No, or leprosy. So it does, and maybe it's psychological. But we'll say as you enter the lovely lobby of the Cambridge Hotel, you probably get a few looks because you're an unlikely group. But and who has cash on them? Because you remember we haven't cashed your checks.
Ooh.
Anna and Arson probably have a little bit, just following Dr. Handler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like $20, but probably enough to get us, what, 2 rooms?
We'll say probably everyone has the 2 bits it'll take to secure a couple of each to secure a couple of rooms for you. So we're doing boys' rooms, girls' rooms. All right.
That works.
All right. So I do you eat?
No.
No.
No,
No one's eating. No one's hungry.
Yeah, really, my appetite kind of left for some reason.
I mean, he's like, hey, we could have spare ribs because, with the whole spare body parts thing. That'd be awesome. I'm here all night. So I think everyone decides to just okay, we're going to wake up in the morning and everything will be fine and all this will have been a dream and we're just going to go crawl into bed. Great. So you do.
Well, I'm going to say Anna is just, it's not a deep scratch, but she'll just give a little first aid, clean treatment to the scratch, check it out, make sure she's not turning into a werewolf, Mr. Twister, overnight.
Yeah, go ahead and give me a medicine check, please.
Ooh, a 17 out of 80.
A 17 under 80 is really, really good.
Yeah.
That is exceptional. So I will say, at first you think that perhaps you're having an allergic reaction because there's a bit of swelling, but the swelling is very localized. There's a hard, small lump directly beneath the broken skin.
Is it moving? Is it, if I poke at it, is it?
If you poke at it, you can move it underneath the skin. It does not appear to be moving on its own. That's one of the things that gives you a clue that it's not localized inflammation.
Anna's debating the pros and cons of just scalpeling it out right now.
How's your hand?
Oh, no, fine. Oh, you can have the shower first, Minnie, by the way. If you want to go. I don't know.
A bath?
There's a room down a hall with water, with water in it. You can call up for hot water if you want. But there's a room down the hall with a tub that gets emptied every once in a while.
I'll be fine. I probably gotta get this photo prepped anyway.
Yes.
You sure you're okay?
I'm sure it's fine.
Do you want to give me a psychology there, Minnie?
I mean, I will give you a psychology, but I will let you know.
You want to give me a fast talk there, Anna?
Yep.
Because you're lying out your face.
Yep.
Well, I got a 31 out of 10, so
Well, this is contested.
I have a 73 out of 5.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
But Anna's not changing much. She's like, no, it's fine. Keep your mouth shut.
So for future reference in contested, it's a little odd in that you're looking for the highest that's under the threshold. So like if you both had a 50 and you both succeeded, and Anna got a 5 under 50 and you got a 49 under 50, you would actually be the one that wins, which is weird. It's just who knows, mechanical. But in this case, you both failed. But Anna failed much, much harder, such that Minnie's like, not sure you don't know Anna, but she's a terrible, terrible liar. You're pretty sure that something's going on.
Aren't you like a doctor?
I am a doctor.
First off, super cool. Second of all, what's wrong then?
Nothing. It's fine.
You're
You should
lying.
look at your photographs while I keep poking around with this, and it'll probably be fine.
Poking around at this. Is that
It's just-
a technical term for doctors?
Yeah, it's jargon, you know. So-
Oh yeah, jargon.
So-
Yeah. So I'll work on this and you look at that. And then we can both report back. It'll be really exciting.
Yeah. I am gonna take the scalpel out and just make a little pokey poke.
Yep. Directly over the swelling.
Yeah. It's probably just pus. It's fine.
As soon as you do this little, and we're talking like smaller than a BB. It's very, very small mass. Kind of just like pops out.
Ooh.
But not explosively, but like it just,
Is it
as soon as you separate, it was directly under the epidermis. And so as soon as you relieve the pressure or create an opening for it, it kind of pops out and begins to kind of slide down your
Is
arm.
it like sentient and moving?
Not that you can notice in this very moment. It appears
I'm
to be
gonna
some sort of like a nodule of some sort, but very small.
I'm gonna immediately put it in a jar.
Okay. You toss it in a
then-
jar, kind of flick it off in a jar, and it sticks to the side, and then slowly slides down, leaving a little trail of blood.
While it's in the jar, I'm just gonna make sure there's nothing else left behind in the hand. And if
Yeah.
it's all good, then
Make
I'll...
me a medicine check.
Okay. Ooh, that's a 1.
Wow.
These dice I stole from Tough are fantastic.
Right? So, with that, I will say you did an expert job doctoring yourself. Don't need to give yourself a stitch. None of that stuff. Everything seems fine. You take a probe and double check. It is fine. Like it looks like a little paper cut now, and should heal perfectly. Probably won't even scar. And I will say, you are certain now that you hold up and can, kind of go get a little bit of light and look at this mass. It's some sort of foreign substance.
Probably like
the
something.
texture is
Ugh.
not familiar to you, to any of the kind of things that the body produces.
Man, I'm glad I got that out now so it didn't bust through my teeth later. I
sorry,
say that
what?
out loud. Oh, nothing, Minnie. Just,
Yeah.
hey, do me a favor. Just don't mention this to any of the guys, okay?
Mention what?
Nothing. Put a
You
little
mean that-
band-aid.
Jar. Wound.
Yeah. Well, look
Hey,
at it.
did it like infect you with something?
It's fine. It's a paper cut.
You can examine it if you would like.
I do. I want to.
Okay.
But now that I've made
We
sure.
can both examine it. It's really
Yes.
exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, that just kind of gives Minnie the side eye. I thought I told you to go worry about your photographs.
All right. So you can
It has
give
to
me your choice. You'll probably get different information. Your choice between medicine, natural world, or occult. Given what I know everyone's occult to be, I assume you aren't going to choose it. But
Oh,
you can always
medicine
roll the
for
dice.
sure.
Okay.
33 out of 80. So
Ooh.
I got 54 out of 20 for natural. Well,
Okay.
I don't actually know anything about this. This is like, oh, this is more weird.
Yeah.
you can take a picture of it if you want.
Well, you got it right here.
You certainly could. So I will say that although it's quite small, you're able to, grab it with a piece of forceps, clean it off on a cloth. It's somewhat pliable and sticky. And also you slice it open, and it's filled with some sort of jelly, and kind of a blackish, grayish jelly. And there are a few little floating black spots in it. The closest thing that it reminds you of in the natural world or in your medical study is either an egg or a seed.
Oh God, this thing laid an egg in me. I didn't consent to that. It's
But I will say, because
disgusting.
of your extraordinary success, you believe that it probably was dead or inactive before you removed it.
Oh. Maybe it wasn't.
I would say
Well,
that's
it
more of
wasn't in
it's
there
more of an
as well.
intuition.
Yeah.
But just as you examine this tiny, you probably pull out a magnifying glass, and I'm sure many has. As you examine it, the intuition you have is that this was not living and active by the time that
It
you,
wasn't ready to hatch.
and perhaps never would have.
Yeah.
Maybe it needs to be alive.
Maybe you passed your constitution check.
Body just crushed it.
My white blood cells remind me to thank them later.
Maybe you rolled well, or else this would be a different scene.
Okay, we'll put the rest of it in the jar.
Yeah.
Put a little Band-Aid or equivalent of Band-Aid on my hand. It's paper cut. It's fine. Just don't worry about it. And remember, Minnie, there are things called girl talk, and where, we keep secrets between us girls. And this is like one of those. We don't need to worry
Okay.
anyone. It's fine.
But okay, you know what? Actually, that sounds great. I'm going to pretend we didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You should get some rest.
you too.
And I will get minimal rest because she's making notes, probably in a little mini journal notebook, going over information from the everything.
But writing up your official medical examination.
Yeah. Dozes off for like an hour and then wakes back up. Oh.
And probably at that point sees Minnie also up. I'm gonna guess you probably have a black box that you're using to process the plate. Might as well. I mean, you've got all your chemicals
Yeah.
with you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Oh, are you curious what the plate reveals?
Yeah, I'm sure it's normal.
So maybe you wait until one of the moments that Anna has dozed off, and then go and look at her hand and make sure that there's something weird's going on.
It's
Double check the thing in the
bandaged
jar. It's like everything seems to be fine. So the requisite time has passed, and you are able to remove the process plate from the box. And yes, you see. At first you think that the plate has broken. Because there is a spiderweb kind of cracked, shattered look to it. But as you hold it up to the gaslight, you realize that it's not the glass itself or any surface. It's a pattern within the emulsion, the exposed emulsion. And what you see is directly centered on Anna's hand. From there, there's this spider web pattern. As if you had taken, it's more like you had taken, the lens had broken. So there's visual aberrations, as if the lens itself had cracked at that point, and then you overlaid it over the image. It does somewhat obscure the other parts of the image, but because you got a fantastic success, I will say you also notice other points of focus of a similar but like faded version of this cracking or spider web sort of effect. One coming from the head of the female, and one coming from the intact shoulder of the male body. They don't reach quite as far, and so it's almost like it's layered, and the effect is less pronounced, but you see 3 distinct crack points, as if the plate or perhaps reality itself was broken. But no ghosts.
No ghosts. And no crack points at the thing in the foreground that we weren't really paying attention to that much for, reasons.
No, I don't think so.
So if that was an egg, and Anna had a bad egg that didn't hatch, does the egg just summon the guy to come eat your limbs, or are they going to become weird, more of them? Minnie wonders to herself.
And then perhaps falls to sleep with holding the plate. Which, of course, because it has a little bit of the good old mojo in it, glows very faintly blue in the darkness after you turn out the gas lamps. And a bit brighter in the cracks of that spiderweb pattern. And I think the camera closes on that as we wait to see what happens on the first actual full day when you're really doing investigations.
What a warm-up.
It's fine. The next spot under the bridge is going to be totally cool. Don't worry about it.
At least it'll be daytime. Nothing bad happens in the daytime, right?
Yeah. I love that I railroaded you into going to a morgue at night.
That's the best idea ever.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't we go to a morgue at night?
Well, if you want to go to the morgue secretly, you're not going to go during the day.
Got a
Usually the
point.
bad thing happens before you go to the morgue, so it's fine to go to the morgue at night.
Yeah. Some bad things really did happen before you went to the morgue, as you will soon find out. Cool. Awesome. Well, things are going really well in Denver.
Mhm.
Maybe you guys will be able to prevent it.
City of Dreams.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, I think we should do the thing that we do and go around and let everyone know who you are and where people can see you next and all that good stuff. Let's start with Erthos this time. If your mic is back. If not, you can just sign it. That's Erthos. He was Jack. You can check him out here. He's around. Member of the community. And we'll get the mic situation resolved before next time. All right, Katie.
I'm Katie, and I can be found here or in various other channels, lurking and hanging out. And that's about it.
Awesome.
Hey everybody, I'm Chev. You can usually find me in people's chats in the community. I also stream myself playing Mahjong, which is a card game, and listening to chill music and hanging out with some cat cam a couple times a week. So if that sounds like your jazz, come hang out. We'd love to see you.
And I'm Misha _ lesson 3 on Twitch or at Misha on Tumblr. You'll see me here next on, I think, the next 3 Sundays for Teen Justice Academy. So that'll be cool and exciting.
Yes, and we must get the next one of this. I know we don't have it officially on the books, but we will do it. And
poke at it.
Something to consider if we want to divide. So, like, if we want to have a Anna and Arson or Anna and Minnie divide and conquer and start to investigate one path or the other, we can totally do that. We can run it with like bouncing sessions around, and we can pull in NPCs and other resources. So I know it's hard, especially kind of end of summer, to get everyone all together forever for 3 hours. But if you guys want to propose like this investigation is going to take probably a number of weeks. There will likely, this is table talk, but there will likely be episodes of intense horror and discovery, followed by like checking things out and discovering other stuff. There's other stuff happening in Denver. There's stuff that happened in the past that was very loosely mentioned in the previous run that is maybe connected. So there's plenty of threads of mystery for you all to follow. And you have a base, you have resources, and we can divide and conquer if that makes scheduling more easily. And I'm fine if this one runs longer than 3. If we just divide and conquer, we'll run it until people get tired or resolve the mystery, or everyone dies and becomes creepy monsters that steal body parts.
Mr. Twister Part 2.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Cool. All right. Well, then, thank you. I didn't say it before, but thank you. This has been Cowboys and Cthulhu Missing Pieces. What? So stay tuned for more of this and our other stuff that we'll be doing in the coming weeks and months. And let's say goodbye to our friends on the YouTubes, and then we'll come back and we'll write out. Goodbye, YouTube.
Bye.